All right. You mean basically you just want to have a chat at the weekend and record it? Fine. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Because obviously we're all middle-aged now, and a lot of my friends are going through some kind of crisis.
Jesus Christ, man. Oh!
You know, there's a lot of work involved because, like, I'm going to ask you lots of questions.
You should probably burn her and throw her ashes in the river.
I mean, if you just want to have a conversation for the week, if you're lonely, Richard, just tell me.
You really know how to make me feel self-conscious. I'm sure we were. I'm sure we were cool at one point. Were we? I think so.
Consigning it to digital evidence that will then be played back to them in court.
Why are we even talking about this?
You might lose interest very quickly because I have a habit of making these passion projects very boring very quickly.
Sometimes I just like talking about things that I don't really understand.
So yeah, there you go. There's loads of questions for you. And have a lovely day.
Seriously though, are you sure?
That's my opinion.
They do say it's good to talk, but I never hear them actually talking. This show with Ben and Rich.
This show with Ben and Rich. You found a way to communicate your feelings without actually directly communicating your feelings. Stop it.
Hello.
Hello and welcome to this show with me and him.
It's Ben and Rich.
Yeah, Ben and Rich, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about today's chat, today's podcast, because we're going back into our youths when we had hair and dreams and a future.
And the will to live.
All of that stuff.
Yeah. We've also gone into the future. Can we talk about that briefly?
Yeah, go on then.
I've got a headset. I've got a headset microphone, and I ordered it randomly on Amazon, and it's arrived, and it's exactly the same as Ben's. So,
no, yours is blue and mine is red, but we both look ridiculous, and looking ridiculous is definitely one of the themes of today's podcast, which is about 90s music, the music of the 90s, the glory days, the era of the endless summer and the theme tunes to the endless summer, of which there were many. I have very fond memories of the 90s. The 80s were great as well, but the 90s for me was when I was a teenager, and I got my first job. I didn't ask for it. I came home from school one Friday and my mum said, you better get to bed early. I was like, it's 9 o'clock. She's like, yeah, you start work tomorrow morning.
You're down the pit tomorrow.
In a tool shop, polishing tools.
Really?
Yeah.
In fact, you take the piss out of me for having loads of jobs. So in the last couple of weeks, I found out
I didn't want
you
that
were
one.
a jailer and a hammer polisher. Like,
awful. But it did mean that I finally got access to money. It was my first experience of having my own disposable income, and I used it to buy CDs, which is the new technology that had just appeared. Before that, of course, we had cassette tapes, and like I said, I have a great fondness and nostalgia for the era where we used to make mixtapes for each other and trying to record stuff off the radio, and that special skill of hitting record or pause and stop at the right moment before the DJ comes in at the end and goes, that's number one from Cisco. Cisco, do you remember Cisco? I'm coming in hard, I'm coming in fast.
Coming in with your 90s one-hit wonders already. Yeah, you know that thing about recording off the radio and stuff? This is a good illustration of how old I am. So when I went back to uni and I went to Bucks, so I actually did music management, if you remember that.
No.
Okay, well, that's the degree. That was my degree. And a big part of the first year was talking about pirate music. And I made the mistake at 28 years old of saying, "Oh, pirating music, it's not a new thing." I remember being sat by the tape player, Bruno Brooks on the radio, and putting in the cassette and like trying to get the cassette right. And I kept saying cassette, and some girl in front of me turned around and said to me, "What say cassette?"
Oh, dear Lord.
And I realised I wasn't going to have sex with anybody at uni ever.
That's it. Yeah.
It's the weird, creepy old man. Yeah.
Beta. What was the? It was the 90s had a lot of tech. Well, maybe it was. When did the mini disc arrive? Maybe that was at the early.
That was later. Yeah, I had one of those when I had the pub. So that was way later. That was like the noughties, I think.
But I think that's one of the themes that I wanted to discuss as a kind of intro to the 90s is the difference between the relationship that we had with music then versus now, and like tape, vinyl, all of that stuff. The music magazines, like everything was more tactile. I used to love like getting a CD and having the sleeve and the sometimes the lyrics, like liner notes, all of that, and with vinyl as well. Because now I've gone back even further to collecting vinyl. You kind of interact with the music in a completely different way, and I think that streaming culture's changed that a lot. Because now you don't actually buy the music, you don't physically own the music. You own the right to stream the music.
That's it, isn't it? The physical format for music doesn't exist anymore. Well, I suppose it does a little bit now because vinyl's come back and that sort of thing. But yeah, like the CD was probably the last mass-produced physical thing, wasn't it? And then I suppose we all went to a iPod after that, didn't we? And I remember being at uni with you, and Napster had just come out, and like downloading songs in the computer labs. And
that's before Lars Ulrich ruined it for everyone.
But I think that was probably the last time I really bought anything music-wise for sort of the next 10 years until I started buying bits on vinyl again,
But Napster kind of changed. I mean, Lars Ulrich changed completely. That case with this is the Metallica drummer, right? Lars Ulrich. I am saying his name right. And that case that they brought against Napster completely changed the music industry and the way that artists are protected. And I don't know. I kind of hate him for that because I was really enjoying getting stuff for free. But it's fair play. You got to get paid if you're producing the stuff. Nowadays, just because I know, just in relation to our previous pods on being a grown up and collecting, we talk a lot about nostalgia, and we do recognise very honestly that we are bitter middle-aged men.
Yeah.
But I do have to say this. Nowadays, it's so different the way that young people interact with music culture and subcultures. In fact, I don't think they even have subcultures. I was talking to some of my students about this recently because they listen to like reggaeton, and I was saying, "Oh, well, what do you wear? Like, what's the style that goes with that?" And they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about." It seems to me like the music and like the way that you dress are completely separate now. Like when we were growing up, you could tell what somebody listened to by the way that they dressed.
Yeah. I mean, you were. Well, I suppose. What year did we meet? Was that not? What year was it?
2000, I think.
Yeah. All right. So that's a bit late. But I suppose we'd already sort of, certainly in my case anyway, developed style. I'm not sure about you.
Never had any style. What are you talking about?
But like I don't know. Maybe you tell me. I don't know. I guess I was a bit skatey, punky kind of.
Yeah, thing. I think we all went through that a little bit. I mean, I was like a skatey, punky kind of ska dude. very confused, a little bit grunge. I had like a kind of Nirvana Grandad jumper that I used to wear on occasion, and a Parker. I remember Jem took a photo of me. You know the Parker coats, the military Parker jacket. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like Oasis.
Yeah. I fell asleep in the common room while I was wearing that, and Jem, without my consent, this is before consent existed, took a photo of me while I was delirious. And then years later he showed it to me. He was like, oh, I remember the first time we met. He was like, oh no, I met you before that. I photographed you while you were unconscious one time. So how dare you? An invasion of my personal space. But anyway, yeah, the fashion that went with it. In the early 90s, before I really knew what I was doing, I used to listen to a bit of jungle and drum and bass and happy hardcore.
Really?
Yeah, because I've got an older sister, and I wasn't quite the right age, and she used to go to raves and stuff, and I was like really just so I wanted to be a part of that scene, because it sounded like they were having the time of their lives. And it was at the time I was watching shows like Ibiza Uncovered on TV, and like there's just everybody had their boobs out, and it was just like one big disgusting alcohol fueled orgy, and the soundtrack was like all of this club stuff, and I kind of got into it was a bit of a secret, because my friends at the time were all like grunge dudes, skater dudes, and I used to sneak home and listen to like Shy FX in my bedroom, and then my dad would come in and say, what is this nonsense that you're listening to? And that's exactly how I feel about reggaeton now. Life goes full circle.
Let's go back to the start of the 90s though.
All right.
So 1990, I find it quite interesting. Have you any idea what the biggest selling single of 1990 was?
1990? I know that the 90s was many people would see it as the beginning of the career for Queen, but Queen had kind of they were around in the 70s, and they didn't really make it. They came back in the 90s. They became like kind of anthemic in the 90s. Could it be Queen? 1990?
No, it's a song that actually isn't from 1990. It's I don't know. I think it's a 60s one, but it was actually Unchained Melody by the
Robson
Righteous.
And Jerome.
No, by the Righteous Brothers.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, which is mad, isn't it? But there's some classics in here. Can I give you a little taste of what we were listening to in 1990?
Yeah. Please
of course, a big one of your faves. I've seen you dance to this actually. Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice,
which contained the bass lick from the Queen song. What was it? Under Pressure. Was it Under Pressure?
Yeah. What else was it? Vogue again. Seen you dancing to that. Madonna. Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot.
Oh my goodness. Timmy Mallet.
Yeah. God, there's some crackers. Turtle Power. I'm trying to find a good one from the top 40 best-selling songs of the 90s. Number 2 was Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor, who is dead now. But yeah, World in Motion, obviously for Italian 90, but mostly shit. And of all the groups that I'm looking down, Kylie and Elton John, I would say, are the only two that are still going. That's nuts, isn't it?
What would you call that kind of music?
Pop shit. Just shit pop.
Like chart pop, because I feel like the charts doesn't really exist now. I mean, it does in terms of sales, but when we were growing up, like there were more chart shows or Top of the Pops. Yeah. Like every week, you would actually tune in to watch these programs and find out who is the number one for that week. And nowadays, I don't think anyone really cares about number one. Well, you'll see it in like streaming numbers, which just doesn't. It's not the same. I don't think there are any programs on TV where they present the artists of the week or of the month or anything like that. Well, another thing that we had was MTV. I don't know if you had MTV growing up.
Yeah, we were quite lucky. We had Sky growing up, and yeah, I remember MTV, and I remember when MTV
did music.
Had music. Yeah, it was. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day about MTV because I don't get it anymore. I think I used to get it on like Freeview, but we don't over here now. And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's great. All these shows," and listed off a load of sort of reality shows. I was like, "And what about music?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know." It's like, oh, okay, well. Yeah.
Exactly. I just feel like the relationship with music has completely changed. Like, how do people listen nowadays?
Spotify.
Yeah.
That's all I listen to. You know, if there's something I want to look up, then it's straight on YouTube, isn't it? Everything's instantly, at your fingertips. Or again, Spotify, yeah. And in my car is probably when I actually listen to music. And my car's quite good fun because I can just say, "Hey Siri," and if a thing pops into my head, I'll say, "Hey Siri, play Britney, Hit Me Baby One More Time," and it will, which is crazy.
And it's just done it just then.
It has. Oh crap! Hold on.
We're gonna get a strike. Quick, turn it off.
Oh no! Oh, that's my phone playing that shit. Sorry.
You're too connected.
See, you can't even stop music happening now.
It's everywhere. But I don't think that. I think that younger people now are missing out on a. Again, something we've spoken about before: the delayed gratification, the looking forward to a new release, and also like the anticipation of being able to go down to the record store, which they don't exist, like HMV, Virgin, whatever, and going in and buying the new album. And I don't know, it's just a whole experience that was. It was just more fun. It was more rewarding. And nowadays, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your TV, whatever. Yeah. Like, you've got instant access all the time. So I don't know. I feel like it's just not as rewarding as it used to be. There's new vocabulary that goes with music today as well. What were the names? When I listened to grunge music, people used to call me a grebo.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get called a grebo?
Yeah, grebo was one of them, wasn't it? And scab was that one?
Scab.
Yeah. What did you call metalheads?
Metalheads.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. And each sort of group, it was, like you see American high school films. I think it was a little bit like that, and I quite enjoyed that. Now everyone just seems a little bit vanilla, apart from the odd one. Like Millie has been in a form with this kid forever, and he's like a grungy kid. And I saw him the other day on a skateboard, and he was wearing a beanie and big jeans. I was like, oh, he's fucking cool. What's his name? And she goes, oh, I don't know his name. And I was like, what? You've been in the same form as him for 5 years? She's like, yeah, I've never spoken to him. He's weird. He's weird. Look at him. I'm thinking, oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's the coolest kid. Coolest kid in town. I just before we move on, because I did mention earlier that I used to secretly listen to hardcore and happy hardcore and drum and bass. Well, drum and bass came out of the jungle scene. So I don't know if anyone I tried to explain this to a student recently that because they didn't know what it was, but jungle do you remember Shy FX's original Nutter?
Yeah, Jungle is massive.
Yeah, and what else? I was trying to think. Lighter by was it DJ SS? I think.
No, I was never, I was never big into that. I do remember the big sort of plastic A4. Oh, Stussy.
Yeah, these like Stussy and Spliffy jeans. I used to get these knockoff versions from down the market.
Yeah.
And they're just like these huge, like the whole fashion at that time was to wear really, really baggy jeans.
Bro, I'm wearing a pair of big baggy jeans now. I'm bringing them back. I'm literally bringing them back. But now I have to go on like fucking eBay and stuff to get them.
Yeah,
I love them.
I think this was like exported from America. This is like a weird fusion culture from because the big jeans things comes from like somebody I saw this explained in a video. Maybe this isn't 100% true, but people used to have baggy clothes because that meant you had a bigger brother, and like a lot of families, they would pass the clothes down to the next kid. So if you had like big baggy jeans, it meant don't mess with me because my brother's huge, and that got exported because it's not practical, is it? There's nothing practical about walking around with your ass hanging out. No. Have you ever tried to run in a pair of those?
Well, I'm literally still doing it, Ben.
My goodness, you need to listen to our episode on how to be a grown-up. That's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that whole clothing sort of thing. Everyone had a record bag for a while as well.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Kind of impractical, but everyone seemed to have them. That happy hardcore scene. I remember a lot of flyers. I remember like going to record shops and getting flyers. And I've just sent you what I was talking about. I don't know if you can pull that up, but these massive collections of cassette tapes in big plastic boxes. They were mental, and the artwork was always kind of alien but a little bit sexual.
Yeah, hang on, I've actually got one there. I've got one of the posters from Dreamscape. It was in where I grew up. It was one of the fashions to have these big puffer bomber jackets.
Yeah,
Helter Skelter or Dreamscape on the back.
Yeah. No, I remember that as well. I think everyone sort of went through that. But yeah, 94, like we were 14. It's not like we were out at warehouse raves dropping E's.
No, but my sister was, and I wanted to be. Okay. That's the whole point. That's the only reason that I was involved in all that stuff.
How much older is your sister than you?
She's 4 years older than me.
Okay, same as mine. Yeah. Same as mine, yeah. So my sister, though, she was more sort of Guns N' Roses.
Violin, classical music.
No, she was like GNR and like Metallica and Iron Maiden. And then grunge happened, didn't it? So she got more into that, really.
Grunge. Let's have a chat about grunge.
Well, I was going to say it was hair bands forever, wasn't it? It was hair, like Guns N' Roses and who's Nikki Sixx? What's those guys? Girls. Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, I suppose Nirvana got.
I love this because you
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah,
brilliant. But yeah, so Nirvana got together in '87, I think, but didn't really get big until 1990. And the other guy, that's Eddie Vedder, isn't it? Pearl Jam.
Yeah. So, well, 1990 was Nevermind, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that sort of grunge movement just took away a lot of the sort of bullshit and glamour.
You know the cover of the album Nevermind has that baby swimming after a dollar bill.
Yeah,
and that baby's a fully grown man now,
Yeah, he goes to conventions and makes money. So
but he tried to sue them because his dick was in the picture, and he's like, "I don't want everyone to look at my baby dick." It's like, well, dude, like, I hope you've grown since then. But the new version of the album has that airbrushed out.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Oh.
Which, I don't know, is that a pity? No, I don't think so. But
I don't know if saying that is the right thing to say. Yeah. It's a pity that baby's dick isn't available.
It's just, I think, unfortunate that we live in a world where you can't have baby dicks on albums. That's the soundbite that they play in court.
Yeah.
But culture.
But yeah, everything went from like massive stage production. You remember Iron Maiden used to have like that massive puppet of Eddie, the character. Yeah. It used to rise up out of the stage, and it was all fire and pyro and really cool. And grunge came along, and everything went a bit more musical. It
was so perfectly synchronized with my hormones, because I was literally, things were happening to my body and my face. I was getting spots, and suddenly grunge music it was the perfect soundtrack to that. A lot of it was like, yeah, screw you mum and dad, kind of like just in my bedroom listening to these people whining on with heavy guitars. It's like it's protest music. It's the soundtrack of the comfortable, of the privileged.
Well, I don't know. I maybe, but to me, like, it all felt a bit more real. You know, like at the same time there was pop and there was like dance music.
Spice Girls.
Not in 1990, but like early 90s. But like, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter didn't really resonate with me. Whereas a song about being a misunderstood teenager probably did.
Yeah,
a bit more,
for sure. It's like, but I enjoyed both. This is the thing. I feel lucky enough to have grown up at that time, because I feel like there was a lot of variety, and you had the opportunity to enjoy different things. And now I am going to say the middle-aged man thing. Everything sounds the same nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, anything that charts is, there's probably a handful of genres, isn't there now?
But they're not
in the chart.
With the exception of reggaeton, I don't think that we're in an era of new genre creation. Like some of the genres that came out of the 90s, you've got Britpop, grunge, jungle, hardcore, drum and bass that came out of jungle, indie, and then like soul R&B. Like R&B, not as in... This used to annoy my dad, because my dad recognised R&B as rhythm and blues, like of the 60s. But that R&B that was... what's an example of like an R&B tune? Destiny's Child. Say My Name. Yeah. TLC.
Yeah.
Creep, all of that stuff. There's a huge kind of soulful recycling of like the soul movement, but yeah, under the banner of R&B. R. Kelly, we're not allowed to talk about him.
Not this episode. Yeah, but are we just turning into our parents? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Because, like, Millie is 16 or 17 in 2 days, and she listens to like Oasis. I bought I bought What's the Story for her on vinyl, and she, I think, looks at that like we did the Beatles.
That's very true.
But also, she likes the Beatles, so what the fuck she thinks that is? Well, like Mozart or something? I don't know.
It's something I was talking to a friend about recently. Like, the music of the 80s and the 90s borrowed a lot from like the 50s and 60s. And that's a kind of cyclical thing. Like, you always have this 20-year, 30-year gap where enough people have been born and died that you can recycle something culturally because the people at that time don't have any personal connection. So for them, it's new. It feels like a new thing. And that is actually happening now. I've noticed that a lot of people are interested in the 90s style and the 90s fashion. Even like in TV and film, there's a lot of nostalgia or recycled nostalgia for 90s music and 90s clothing and the way of life and all of that stuff. But do you think that in another 20 or 30 years that they're going to start recycling the music of today? Because I just can't see that happening. Like, do you think that the kids that are growing up now are going to have nostalgia for reggaeton? I mean, if we're going to talk about
you keep talking about reggaeton,
it's because I hate it so much, and it's so popular here in Spain. I hear it all the time. Every song literally has the same beat. Like you hear like cars stopping at traffic lights, and it's like that could be literally any reggaeton song. But
the only exposure I've ever had to reggaeton is on Trolls 2, which is a like Pixar movie that Lily likes, and all the trolls are different musical genres, and one of them is reggaeton, and I had to look it up to find out what it was.
Reggaeton?
Or reggaeton, whatever you're calling it. I don't even know.
It's like robotic music.
But they were quite nice trolls, so I've nothing against it. But
it's awful. Like if you actually, a lot of the time you can't understand what they're saying because there's this style of singing that is like through clenched teeth, or like mumble rap almost like. But if you actually do listen to the lyrics, which are usually in Spanish, oh my god, man! Like I suppose people listening in England, if they don't speak Spanish, they might try and sing along. But it is some of the worst, like the misogyny, the way they talk about women is like it really is quite gross. But that got me thinking again. Maybe I'm just a miserable old fart, which I am to some extent. So I looked into some of the lyrics of from our era.
Oh yes.
Wow. I don't think I will give reggaeton a break. I think the lyrics are gross, but we had stuff like, for example, quite soft, Out Here Brothers, Boom Boom Boom. You remember that?
Yeah, but like the radio edit was fine. But if you hear the...
Girl, your booty is so fine.
Yeah,
I just want to make it mine.
Yeah, but I think that's the radio edit. The actual original.
What, Inner Circle, Girl, I want to make you sweat until you can't sweat no more, and if you cry out, I'll push it some more.
Isn't that like a remake of a Doctor Hook song? Though?
Yeah, it's a la 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 long.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. Some things don't age well, do they?
E17 Deep.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Deep down. I want to get deep down. I remember the girls at school singing that in class, and I was just constantly erect. But I was like for that whole part of my life anyway. But when there's people singing stuff like that around, and you're trying to just get through the day without squirting hormones all over somebody, it's tough. So yeah, I think just to summarise, I think the argument about lyrics being disgusting doesn't really work. That kind of falls flat. I think that's always been a thing. We've always had sexual content in music. It just feels more uncomfortable when you're an adult because you hear children singing it and it's like, oh man, no. Twerking.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of twerking.
I don't like it. I see like little girls twerk. It's just not. I think it should be banned. I think they should all wear burqas. They should all be covered up from head to toe.
All right,
cover them up.
It turns out this is the show where they get cancelled.
No, I don't know. I think that it's not anything new. It's not new. I didn't realise it as much when I was a kid because I was a kid and I was living it. But now as an adult, I can kind of... It's one thing that I definitely think that my parents had right. So yeah, but I suppose the wheel keeps turning. Yeah. Britpop.
Okay, yeah, Britpop. That sort of... So I'm a year older than you, yeah?
2 years older.
Oh, okay. But my GCSE year, when I finished and had that long summer, was 1996, which for me was the height of Britpop and possibly the height of music so far.
In all history.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You had Blur, you had Oasis, you had Dodgy, you had Ocean Colour Scene, you had Reef, you had...
Cast.
Blars, just endless wicked guitar bands. And it was 1996 was Euro 96 as well. And like I say, I just finished GCSEs, and we started going down the pub and stuff. And it was just like the best summer of my life. And there was definitely a sort of soundtrack that went along with it. I mean, Oasis played Nebworth that year. A huge gig, amazing gig, and one that I think has gone down in history of one of the best of all time. Were you?
That's where I grew up, in Nebworth. That's next to my house.
And Staines?
No, I've never even been to Staines.
You're
tormenting me with this for my entire life. I grew up in Nebworth, and I moved to Stevenage. But the Nebworth Oasis gig was on my doorstep.
Oh wow! But there you go. Like, I think that was the best year ever for music. And this year, or this summer just gone, was Miller's GCSE long summer holiday. And I was trying to explain what 96 was like, and we spent, I think, 1,200 quid on getting 3 tickets to go and see fucking Taylor Swift next year.
Yeah.
She hasn't got a soundtrack to her summer, and that makes me sad.
Yeah. So, I mean, why has that happened? Do you think that it's the influence of mechanical music, like it's the way that it's produced? It seemed to me that there were more bands, you know what I mean? Now there are artists.
Do you know what? I think part of it is music was a little bit harder to come by, wasn't it? Like, you had to go out and buy it. And so you put a bit of effort into liking a certain group or
you would
a
follow
genre.
You'd be a fan, an actual fan. I think now it's easy just to I like this music,
but then you'd gravitate to people who also like that sort of music, and you'd share music with them, and whatever the genre was, you'd say it was Britpop, you'd be like, oh, he likes Oasis, oh, he might like the Charlatans, I've got a Charlatans album, here you go, try that, and you'd swap stuff around. And of course we also started playing music because we liked it, which no one does anymore. But now, and so you'd get that tight circle of friends, and a lot of it would be about the music. But now, because music's so easy to come by, you've got your phone, it just plays at random times when it shouldn't. And so, like, Millie and her mates can like all different stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can play one song and then change it. You don't even have to get up to change the CD, let alone turn a bit of vinyl over.
So what was it? What's music for? I mean, like, what was it for us, and what is it for people now? I mean, I know that sounds like a stupid question. You say listening to, but it's like you listen to music in very specific circumstances to create an environment, to create an atmosphere, and sometimes to even bond with people. Like, you'd literally, I mean, when I was at uni, like, you'd get invited to somebody's room to listen to a CD if you didn't know the group. There was an American guy in my hall who introduced me to Linkin Park. I'd never heard them before, because I was talking to him about, I like skate music, and I was like, you've never heard of Linkin Park? And we went and sat in his room and obviously smoked some substances, and listen to Linkin Park for the first time, and it was a bonding experience. I don't think that people say, "Hey, do you want to come to my room and listen to Taylor Swift?" I don't think that's ever happened ever anywhere in the world.
I think it's a more solo thing now. Like I know, like Millie, she's the biggest Swiftie, that's what they call them, in the world, and and Taylor Swift is dead clever at releasing stuff and marketing herself. You've got to give her that. But like, yeah, Millie will stay up till 3 a.m. for something that's being released on Spotify. You know.
Yeah.
But she won't do that with friends, I don't think.
But it's the subculture. It just doesn't really exist. I mean, I get like the Swifties are just loyal fans of an artist, but before Britpop, we had like Manchester. You know, that whole movement that brought like a city to life. Like the whole, they were thriving on that. All of those bands coming, and yet they had to look a certain way, they had to dress a certain way, and the music was great. And then after that, you get the whole Blur versus Oasis, and all of the other bands that you mentioned, a few like Cast, Suede, Elastica, and it was just a movement really of music and of fashion and everything that goes with it. And we've got a mutual friend that built his whole identity around knowing rare bands, and like he, like many people, would rush to get the latest copy of NME or Melody Maker and get like the inside scoop on the new bands that are releasing albums in rare genres, and it's like a superpower, you know. Nobody really cared though. It never got him laid.
It probably did.
It probably did. Actually, yeah, it did actually, because I have memories, but yeah, you can't do that nowadays. Imagine, can you get well,
information's at your fingertips, isn't it? You know, you don't have to go out and search for it like he did. Have I told you my dad worked at NME?
No.
Yeah, in the 60s when he was at Leeds Uni. And he also went to the Who Live at 66 with NME. It's a lot less cool when I tell you what he did for NME. He worked a night shift on the printer. So he wasn't
cool.
like a photographer or anything.
I think you could still pick up chicks with that.
Yeah, Mum was all over that.
Yeah. That's how they met.
I nearly said something. Glad I didn't.
Yeah, keep it to
let's
yourself.
gloss over that. But yeah, I think Manchester was massive, but that sort of died in the really early 90s. But I think a lot of Britpop probably sort of came out of that, didn't it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, but these are this is the cycle. This is the machine, the music machine, because Manchester was recycling a lot of music from the 60s.
Yeah.
They kind of skipped over the 70s. The 70s was quite isolated. It was kind of standalone. What did you get out of them? Like metal music came out of the 70s.
Yeah, it was just rock and roll turned up to 11, wasn't it? Bit of distortion.
Yeah, thrash.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. It's an interesting movement though, the metal, because it was predominantly the groups of lads from industrial cities around England. A lot of people globally that have encountered either on TV or musically Ozzy Osbourne would never know that he was Brummie. That like came up through. He was working in a factory. You know, I remember seeing an interview with him where the first paycheck he ever got, he bought his first ever deodorant. He bought some Brute, and it was like a luxury item for him. I like those stories of all of these. Well, some of the biggest metal bands in history come from Birmingham and those industrial towns. But anyway, the 90s was influenced by all of that. We recycled it. What else do we have? Indie. Is there a difference between indie and Britpop?
Well, I think indie was technically, you're meant to be on an independent label, weren't you?
Yeah.
Originally, but then, probably the big labels, Sony, Epic, all those, BMG, cottoned on that it was really popular, and so just signed all the bands from the indie labels. Yeah, I don't know, very similar to Britpop, I'd have thought, really. We probably should have Craig on to tell us us what nonsense we're speaking. But I think it's meant to be an indie label, but whether it actually was.
Well, I mean, indie started off in like the 70s to the 80s, and it was independent labels like Rough Trade and Factory. Factory was a 90s indie label.
Rough Trade's still going.
It's
in Nottingham. I go past it most days.
But I feel like that it's independent label and indie are kind of separate, because like the indie style is, what would you say, like Blur and Oasis. A lot of Britpop, I would say, is also it's indie style, indie sound.
But I think the 90s was also very much a mix of guitar bands and really commercial dance music. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at now, 1995, there's the odd. It's a sort of equal split between ridiculous pop nonsense, sort of commercialised dance.
A lot of this stuff is coming back, A lot of this, like I'm saying, we're in the second cycle. A lot of the young people are discovering this like it's for the first time. And I'm like, hey, back off, man. That's my heritage. Don't be claiming that for yourself. Aqua, Barbie Girl, for example.
And then, but I think there was also, there were also a lot of acts still like for the mums and dads. Like Tina Turner had a big hit.
Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson,
Meatloaf. I'm actually just looking at now 1995.
Mariah
and
Carey.
It's a right mix.
Celine
like E17, Tina Turner, Bobby Brown, Mike and the Mechanics.
Take
middle
That.
Of the road as you get. A bit later, Take That, I think. Were they around in 95?
Yeah, man. They were around.
Paul Weller, Changing Man, that was 95. Some might say that was 95.
But you still had artists from the 60s and 70s, like Elton John and Cher were still knocking about.
Yeah, well, you can't kill Elton John off even now, can you?
Yeah, he's still at it.
Pops up like a mad old grandma.
I just love the kind of evolution of these genres throughout, because like the Prodigy is a very good example. The Prodigy started off as a kind of hardcore band, like almost jungle, and then they move into like commercialized. I mean, what genre are they in? It's not techno, is it? But
just dance, I guess.
Well, dance music started in the 90s, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The club changed to unlimited.
Yeah. Snap. Oh no, that was 80s, I think.
No, Snap was 90s. They had. Was it? What did they? Rhythm is that's one of my favourite lines. I'm as serious as cancer when you know rhythm is a dancer. If you've got a southern accent like me, you've got to say it properly.
But I think also like sort of mid-90s or a bit later, 96, 97, 98, all like the Ibiza club anthems. Like, do you remember Born Slippy, Underworld? And they were still playing that when we were at uni together, like in all the clubs, weren't they? And then, of course, sort of 97 was probably the year of the boy band, wasn't it? Then you started getting like Boyzone were about
Blackstreet.
97 was also actually. Am I telling? No, 96. Sorry, would have been the birth of the Spice Girls with Wannabe. So that's their first single, wasn't it? So girl bands were coming out. It was a real mix, wasn't it? There was some good music, but also there was a load of shit. Do you remember that club in Leeds, Heaven and Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always went to Heaven because it was like cheesy
I can't
pop
believe they
nonsense.
let you in. Yeah.
And I imagine you always went to Hell.
I was in Hell, yeah.
It was like dance music and hardcore. And I just couldn't be bothered with it.
It didn't matter where you went in that place. You were always going to stick to the floor.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sambuca.
Oh, the good old days. Kind of.
But yeah, no, you're right. This commercialized pop, commercialized dance music. Interesting. The boy bands and the girl groups, Spice Girls and what was it? You had these really dodgy kind of knockoffs because they were the internationally recognized boy bands. Like, what's an internationally recognized boy band? Do you think?
Boys to Men.
Oh, was that one? Backstreet Boys, for example.
Oh yeah, NSYNC.
We got in the 90s the advent of the talent show, and a lot of boy bands came out of those talent shows, those early talent shows, like Five.
They weren't a talent show. They were brilliant. No,
but they were. Where were they? They're from Ireland. Were they Irish, or am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of?
Boyzone,
yeah.
Yeah. No, Five were like London boys, I think. Oh no, they were like a mix. They were put together. I think you're thinking like the first band off one of those pop shows.
Yeah.
Was Pop Stars, and that was Hearsay.
Yeah.
I remember them well because I did the sticker book for that in one of my first jobs. But that was post 90s.
And I did my one of my uni projects with Kimberly Walsh.
Oh yeah, she
was in my course. She was on my course before she got famous.
She wasn't in Hearsay. What was the girl group?
I can't remember, but they were off.
Not Little Mix, the one before that. Yeah. They were off Pop Stars. Had Cheryl Cole in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuts. I forgot she was at uni.
She did absolutely nothing. She
was
useless.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
No, she had a little clique. She had a little group of carbon copies that used to like click around the campus. Like, it's like you're trying to go to an English lecture, and it was when the girls used to paint themselves brown for some reason. You know, like the fake tat, like is so bad, like orange fake tan. And
if you go into our main bathroom at my house, man, you'll come out orange whether you want to or not.
Is it just in the air?
Everything you touch, it's disgusting. Yeah. So I think like every decade, it's a mixture of good stuff and shit stuff, isn't it? Can we play my game?
Yeah, for sure. Is this your one-hit wonder that you've been planning?
Yeah. So okay. I'm going to give you a title of a song.
Right.
And you've got to see if you can remember who performed it. I won't say wrote it, because I doubt any of these people actually wrote anything. So the first one would be... I can give you some clues if you can't get it, but Would I Lie to You?
Would I lie to you? Wasn't that Simply Red first?
No. It was Charles and Eddie. You know the song, though. Yeah. Charles and Eddie, they wrote it in 1992. A couple of American guys. And they kept going until 1997 and then gave up on their dreams. And probably
sad story. I have absolutely no idea. What year was it?
That was 92. It was Charles and Eddie. Yeah.
Oh, it was Charles and Eddie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought
all right, you'll get this one. I bet you'll get this one because I think this is like early grunge in a way. So the title of the song is
Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah. They were good. That was a good song.
They were good, actually.
It's the only thing they ever did, though. Number 2 it got to in the UK in '95.
Once there was a girl who that guy's voice was liquid chocolate.
Yeah, it was odd looking though.
Yeah, maybe
It
that's
looked
why
a
they
bit
didn't
like
make it.
Meatloaf's son. All right, what else have we got here? Spaceman.
Spaceman. Babylon Zoo.
Yes. Any idea of the year?
I would have said about 94.
No, it was 96.
Was it?
And it was famous because it was on a Levi's ad.
Yeah. But it's the sped up part that is literally like 10 seconds off the end.
Is shit. The rest of the song is awful.
I had it. I had the single. The B-side was all right.
I don't remember a B-side. Oh, this is one you'll know because they were playing this when we were at uni. Everybody's free to wear sunscreen.
Ah. I can't remember the name of the artist. No.
Also directed Romeo and Juliet.
That hasn't helped me at all.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that was a weird song, wasn't it? Because it was just a man talking about.
Well, it was supposed to be. Supposed to be an address to the class of 90 whatever, and it was advice. If I could give you any advice, it was supposed to be he's advising the graduates. I don't know if it was from a film or something, or it was supposed to be like a play on. That has for some reason just made me think of a tune, Little Fluffy Clouds. Is that in your list?
No.
Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, okay. Forget about it.
Made that up. You made that one up.
Little Fluffy Clouds.
How bizarre.
Man. What's the name of that group?
Got to number 5 in the UK in 1995.
I know the song. Ooh, baby, you're making me crazy.
Yeah, it was OMC.
OMC, yeah.
The founder, Phil Fumana, died of a heart attack in 2005, aged just 41.
Oh.
While the singer, Paulie Fumana, I assume they were related, or maybe her husband and wife, died 5 years later. So they're all dead.
Oh.
That makes me feel a bit old.
Thanks for that. By the way, Little Fluffy Clouds was a song by The Orb.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep, don't remember that. This is one we listened to in the car. Bitch. We were listening to this today, and I was like,
Meredith.
Shut up! How did you get that?
Yeah, Meredith Brooks, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was sure it was Alanis Morissette.
No. I understand why you would have said that. I would have gone for Sheryl Crow or Alanis Morissette, but yeah, Meredith Brooks. I remember that.
Well, those two had loads of hits in the 90s, and all this week I've just been listening to Absolute 90s or Best of the 90s on Spotify, and them two always crop up, and they're bloody brilliant.
Yes, they're pretty good tunes. Who was it that did the song about God being on a bus?
Well, what if God was one of us?
Yeah.
You've just ruined my next question. It was Joan Osborne.
Joan Osborne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It's the same kind of thing because it's like a female guitar playing. It's that whole kind of reinventing the solo artist, because it was more like soul, R&B, or like anthems, but there's this new kind of female artist at that point in the 90s where they play guitar and still be sexy, Sheryl Crow. I'm sure I saw a documentary about her recently. Anyway, what's next?
Brimful of Asher.
Man, I've got that on vinyl.
Really?
Yeah. Oh man, I can't remember the name of the artist. No, you're gonna have to tell me. Corner Shop, obviously.
Yeah. But actually, it was made better by Norman Cook in a remix, and it was a remix that did well the original single of Just Them, which was like a lot slower, didn't do a lot, but then Norman Cook, also known as Fatboy Slim, remixed it and it got to number 1.
Yeah.
So that was something that happened quite a bit, wasn't it? People had remixing.
Things.
And when you bought a single, it had like 7 versions of it.
It's value for money. Yeah. By the way, just before, have you got any more questions for me?
I got one more.
Right, before you ask the next question, my first CD, my first ever CD that I bought was Ugly Kid Joe single.
It should have been that one about
So Damn
dad.
Cool.
Oh, no, okay, I'm thinking of something else.
And the B-side was Panhandling Prince live, which was really good. And it was a picture disc. I saved up my money. Yeah, I got a picture disc, and I was really, really happy about that. What was your first CD?
I don't remember my first CD. I know what my first albums were, but I think they were probably bought in '89, and I'd rather not say. I remember.
Pet Shop Boys.
If you really want to know, there were 2 albums, both on vinyl, both with what I thought at the time were very good-looking girls on them. The first was Kylie by Kylie, which had the classics, Locomotion and...
I'm not going to criticise you for that because it was a bloody good album.
Okay, and the second one, which I bought on the same day at the same time, was, of course, Bad by Michael Jackson, who I thought was a good-looking girl on the front of that album.
Oh dear.
For up until quite recently.
The Confuser.
I do remember buying Cotton Eye Joe on CD. That must have been around 94.
Where did it come from?
Woolworths.
Where did it go?
Ah, you dick.
Woolworths. Oh my goodness. If you're talking about vinyl, my first ever vinyl was wait. You're gonna make something up now. Something really cool. No.
It was never mind. It wasn't. It would have been something shit. It was like the Smurfs. Don't lie.
There it was. It was We're Late by Pinky and Perky.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel way better about it.
It was just 2 pigs singing. I used to listen to it on my dance set, which I inherited from my dad.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, hit me with your last one-hit wonder.
There She Goes.
I know this. I absolutely. There she goes again. No. Oh God. I can't find it. It's lost in my brain. I wanted to say Cast, which is wrong. Then I wanted to say
similar.
Oh man. No, you're gonna have to tell me. I failed.
It was
miserably.
The Lars.
The Lars, obviously.
Already mentioned.
Well, it's just so we didn't delve too far into that. Like bands like Ash and you know, like this.
Oh, was it you who went to see Ash do a secret gig and they bought out someone?
Yeah.
Can you? I think unless this is one of my drunken.
No, it was. Stories. I was supposed to go, but I didn't go. James went instead with someone else. Well, no, he probably went on his own because I was his only friend at that time.
But who did they pull out on?
I can't remember.
Was it Darius from the?
It might have been Darius. Yeah, it might have been actually. It was someone weird because this is the beginning of Big Brother. We're talking about Big Brother. I remember that on our inauguration at uni. They had Bubble from Big Brother 1. Yeah, he was doing autographs, and I was with James in the queue, and we got to the front, and James was totally drunk. He didn't even realise that he was in a queue, and he turned around and he was at the Bubble said, "Do you want me to sign something?" He was like, "Fuck off. Who are you?" And he looked so sad, but he really actually genuinely upset Bubble. I felt sorry for him.
Oh, poor Bubble. He's probably dead too, isn't he?
Yeah, I imagine so. I might look that up. So in conclusion,
what are we concluding? Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to say my little conspiracy theory thing, which is about right. So there's this thing called the Earth beat. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the frequency at which music is broadcast or produced, and usually it should be 438 hertz, but they changed it in the 60s. There's a conspiracy theory that it's like weaponized. They've weaponized music, so the frequency of music doesn't resonate in the same way that it used to. That's one theory, but I think that there is some truth in the fact that music has been kind of dumbed down. It's become simpler, and it's become like less tuneful or complex.
The thing about the sonic resonance and stuff, I have heard about this, and I know that they developed a weapon that makes shit yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that might be
that is that reggaeton. In Men That Stare at Goats?
Reggaeton that you don't like. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Sorry, no, I was just being a dick. I apologise.
But regardless of that conspiracy, I do think that there is some truth in the fact that music has changed in a way that it's now more simplified, and it's designed to be more easy listening than it used to be. Like I don't think there are as many bands nowadays that use instruments. I'm not saying there aren't any. There are obviously loads, but just not as many. Like the indie movement in the 90s and Britpop and everything, it was bands. It wasn't artists. It was music.
I'm going to disagree with you on almost every point. I think there are still bands around.
Yeah, and just rubbish.
I walk through Nottingham. There's like a big arty bit, and there's all these bands being advertised. And sometimes I hear them, and sometimes I'll see a poster and I'll look them up on YouTube or on Spotify, and they're playing drums and guitars and bass and stuff. I just think they're shit because it's weird and I don't understand it. Yeah. And my dad said that about stuff in the 90s, and now we're saying stuff about that now. I think this is an ongoing thing as long as time has existed, and since the first caveman started banging on an animal's skin, his dad would have told him to turn it down, or play something proper.
I can see somebody walking into their son's room saying, "Oh, what are you listening to Mozart for? Rubbish, absolute nonsense, disgusting. Listen to some proper music."
Yeah, Mozart's gay. Listen, I think it's just always been like that, and probably mostly with fathers and sons.
I'm looking forward to being proven right, because I honestly don't think in 20 years, 30 years time, you're going to get a lot of people being nostalgic about reggaeton.
I bet there will be, and I bet there'll be weekends at Butlins devoted to it, like there are 90s weekends now, which I'll never go to.
I'd love to.
I'm not allowed to do drugs anymore, so there was absolutely no chance.
Well, I think on that note, we can agree that we've solved absolutely no mysteries.
Once again.
We just exposed the fact that we are rapidly aging, and the world around us is changing while we stay the same.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that. I'm fine with it. It's fine.
Okay. All right then. Love you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
All right. You mean basically you just want to have a chat at the weekend and record it? Fine. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Because obviously we're all middle-aged now, and a lot of my friends are going through some kind of crisis.
Jesus Christ, man. Oh!
There's a lot of work involved, because I'm going to ask you lots of questions.
You should probably burn her and throw her ashes in the river.
I mean, if you just want to have a conversation for the week, if you're lonely, Richard, just tell me.
You really know how to make me feel self-conscious. I'm sure we were.
I'm sure we were cool at one point. Were we? I think so.
Consigning it to digital evidence that will then be played back to them in court.
Why are we even talking about this?
You might lose interest very quickly because I have a habit of making these passion projects very boring very quickly.
Sometimes I just like talking about things that I don't really understand.
So yeah, there you go. There's loads of questions for you. And have a lovely day.
Seriously though, are you sure?
That's my opinion.
They do say it's good to talk, but I never hear them actually talking. This show with Ben and Rich.
This show with Ben and Rich. You found a way to communicate your feelings without actually directly communicating your feelings. Stop it.